Welcome to the show. If you guys are on YouTube, you're seeing what everybody else is seeing. If you're in the car, what I'm holding, guys, is a signed replica speed helmet, full size, of Odell Beckham Jr. This is gorgeous. Look how shiny it is. I'm not even a Cleveland Browns fan. This is a nice helmet. It's officially signed by Odell Beckham Jr., and I'm giving it away. We're going to be doing weekly prizes thanks to Pristine Auction. Guys, make sure you follow them in the link below. To enter, guys, is very simple. Very simple. Go to pristineauction.com, use promo code SWAGLION, and comment WIN in the comments below, or simply DM me on Instagram, WIN, after you've sent me a screenshot that you signed up. Pristine Auction, use promo code SWAGLION. Free to enter. It's super simple, guys. They've got other amazing auctions there with amazing swag. I was just bidding on a jersey with Justin Herbert. There's a framed jersey. Was gorgeous. Guys, to win this, guys, Pristine Auction, go sign up. Very easy. Use promo code SWAGLION and DM me on my Instagram at Fantasy Football Counselor. Win with a screenshot and you're entered, guys. That's it. And follow Pristine below. All right, guys, let's get to the show. We're talking DFS for week 3. All the optimal plays to help you with your DraftKings lineup. Let's get to the show. And again, Pristine Auction, Swagline. Go enter now. Giveaways every week, and you're entered for all those giveaways moving forward. Free to enter. Let's get to the show. Welcome to the show. We're talking optimal plays for DraftKings DFS daily fantasy lineups. Draft every single week, guys, and make sure your roster is optimal. I'm going to help you guys get those optimal players for this week so your rosters for DFS are solid. I'm going to dive right into all the optimal plays at each position, guys. Very informative episode. This show is also brought to you by DraftKings. Go download the app. Use promo code FFLION. You've got a shot at $1 million worth of prizes if you use that promo code FFLIONS. Download the app. You've got a phone, download the app. They are the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL. Simple, guys. I mean, a lot of people are so upset because their drafting's done for a year long. Guys, you're here for DFS, guys. Make sure you guys are set up with the right provider for DFS daily fantasy. It's DraftKings right now. Set your roster, stand under the salary cap, and see how it stacks up against the competition. Enhance that game watching experience. Right now, guys, download the app DraftKings right now. Use promo code FFLION. Huge perks with that code. Go do that right now. Let's talk about it right now. Let's talk about the optimal plays. Let's dive right into it, okay? And smash the thumbs up, helps the channel. And make sure you guys are subscribed. We go year long, helping you with year long and DFS fantasy football. All right, we're heading into week 3. Who are the optimal plays at each position? Let's start off with the quarterback position. And again, some of these guys are expensive, and I have a Fantasy 365 community. I lay this all out for you in detail. Link here below if you want to join the community. It's really good price. You get the season pass, and it's not like a monthly retainer. You get everything. 365, Fantasy 365 Mastermind. Join below, or go to my website under programs. But I'm telling you, Kyler Murray, I mean, he's been on fire. Let's be honest. He's $8,300 playing Jacksonville this week. He's an optimal play for sure. Now, you look at Mahomes, respectively, similarly priced on DraftKings. He's been pretty good too, but he's got a tough matchup against the Chargers. Okay, it's not going to be an easy walk in the park. Based on matchups, Kyler is the better play there. You know, $100 difference, Kyler being a little more expensive by $100. Lamar Jackson coming off a huge week. He's got a favorable matchup versus Detroit. He's expensive. He's around $7,800. A little cheaper here, and he's been consistent. Russell Wilson versus Minnesota. Also another optimal play. When I do DraftKings, when I do my DFS lineups, I make sure that I anchor my team with an ace quarterback. I'm comfortable with Kyler, Lamar, or Russell Wilson this week because they have, favorable matchups and they've been consistent. So I try to secure that. I don't mess around with quarterback. I take my chances a little more with the wide receivers. So again, guys, when you are looking at quarterback, make sure you guys take a quarterback that's consistent, and there's 3 names here for you. I'll give you a couple more optimal plays here. Daniel Jones, again, bit of a risk, had a good week last week. A lot of, stuff on the ground, a lot of yards on the ground and fantasy points. But I think Saquon's going to be in the groove. I think they're going to start using him to preserve Daniel Jones. Saquon's, I think, now broken out and finally into his groove, okay? I know he had a bad week last week in regards to points, had that breakout run, which I think his confidence is getting there, okay? Carson Wentz is banged up. I'd be a little bit cautious starting him, but he does have a favorable matchup versus Tennessee. And Jared Goff, coming off a decent week last week, has it good with Baltimore. Aaron Rodgers and Justin Herbert, all favorable matchups going into week 3 of fantasy football. Consider them, okay? Looking at tight end here. With tight end, I don't mess around. Usually I get like a good tight end, a guy that's going to produce. Rob Gronkowski's got a mid-range matchup. He's $5,500. Good value. You got Travis Kelce, $8,200. You're going to pay to get Travis Kelce. He's got a mid-range matchup, not completely optimal. Darren Waller coming off a mediocre 12-point week last week. He's $7,400 on DraftKings. A little more expensive, well, a lot more expensive than Rob Gronkowski at $5,500. Darren Waller at $7,400. And again, similar mid-range matchup. I like Hawkinson this week for DFS. He's got a good matchup, arguably one of the easiest matchups versus position against Baltimore. They play the tight end a little softer. He's only $5,200. I really like TJ Hawkinson this week, okay, for you guys DFS. And I also like Kyle Pitts playing the Giants defense, having a 12-point game, starting to get into the groove. Hopefully Pitts starts getting going. Matt Ryan getting a lot of criticism. Kyle Pitts also great value at $4,900. George Kittle, $6,200, a little more expensive, coming off 2 very poor weeks. And again, I told you for a year long, I'm not investing George Kittle second round. Not proved that he is, as advertised for a year long. Anyway, if you're looking at DFS this week, again, he is expensive, but he does have a favorable matchup versus Green Bay. Very easy matchup versus position. Robert Tonyan, also a good matchup there if you're thinking if you want to get a little more value there at $4,400. Okay, so those are some tight ends you may want to consider. If you want super cheap value and a good matchup, Cole Kmet. Again, not looking good in regards to his fantasy points the past couple weeks, but has some upside going into this week if you want to roll the dice on tight end. Again, a tight end and quarterback, I don't like to mess around. I like to kind of get those proven points. With wide receivers, I like to mess around a little bit. Let's go to those guys. Optimal matchups, but you're going to pay for them. DeAndre Hopkins, more of a mid-range matchup. He's playing Jacksonville, $8,200, coming off a mediocre 15-point week last week. Stephon Diggs, average 16-point week last week. Favorable matchup versus Washington. Tyler Lockett's been red hot, and he's got arguably the second easiest matchup of amongst wide receivers against Minnesota. Also, DK Metcalf, very favorable, and both around $7,400 to $7,300. And again, maybe it's a breakout big week for Metcalf. Maybe Lockett doesn't get the big deep ball. Maybe it's Metcalf. So you got to be able to know when to hold him, know when to fold him. I'd probably take Metcalf at $7,300, $100 cheaper than Lockett, and a chance that he could be the boom guy this week with, again, a very easy matchup, okay? Cooper Kupp's been red hot. Easy matchup versus Tampa Bay. That's going to continue. $6,800. Not the cheapest, but good value. Adam Thielen, mid-range matchup. Not as easy as the guys I just mentioned with Lockett and Cooper Kupp. Mid-range matchup, but he's, $6,700, slightly cheaper than the other guys, okay? Julio Jones been okay. Had a good week last week. Easy matchup, both him and A.J. Brown, both easy matchup. A.J. Brown not as advertised. I told you second round pick was a bit of a waste. Other favorable matchups, Sterling Shepard, good value, $5,900. Kenny Galladay, I don't know if he's going to get going. He's playing Atlanta. Again, very good value, $5,600. Very favorable matchup. Jamar Chase, favorable matchup as well versus Pittsburgh secondary. He could get going as well. Marvin Jones, super good value, $4,900. Again, Jacksonville's going to him. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to him. He's been doing pretty safe. 18 points last week, 19 points the week before. Another good matchup there. I'm trying to see if there's any value. Here's value. Quintez Cephas. He seemed to be the value there with Detroit. I thought it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Looks like Cephas is the guy. 16 points last week, $3,900. Good matchup as well. Let me see if there's any other good matchup. DJ Shark. Mediocre week last week, but favorable matchup this week against Arizona as well. Okay, so there's some, go back, listen to this again if you need to, but those are your wide receivers. Then we're going to go over defenses and running back. So defenses, the best matchups to start for defenses. And again, I'm going to do a starts and sits show, start them, sit them every Friday. So make sure you guys are subscribed. But again, this helps you as well get some optimal plays. But I'm going to dive a little more deeper in the starts and sits show on Friday. Favorable matchups. I mean, the Giants versus Atlanta, arguably the easiest matchup versus position. $3,300, can't go wrong. Unless Matt Ryan starts tearing it up this week, which is very, very possible. Broncos versus the Jets. Jets have been absolutely terrible. Zach Wilson just can't get it going. Broncos have got a good rush defense. $4,300, they are expensive, but again, very, very favorable matchup. Raiders versus Miami, also favorable. Steelers versus Cincy, good matchup. Colts versus Tennessee, good matchup, and Cardinals versus Jacksonville. Honorable mention, the Ravens versus Detroit, okay? Running backs, let's look at running backs, the favorable running backs. Christian McCaffrey's been red hot. He's been good. He does have a tough matchup. Oh, sorry, an easy matchup. I apologize. Versus Houston. He had a tough matchup last week, what I was trying to say, and he still did well. So Christian McCaffrey, but you're going to pay huge $9,000 on DraftKings, okay? Dalvin Cook, favorable matchup, very injury prone. We saw him come off the field like 3 times. I kept getting these reports saying, oh my God, he's off the field, this and that. Then he comes back on. I think his ankle's bothering him, that type of thing. So just be careful with Dalvin Cook. He's going down soon, but $8,400 favorable matchup. Aaron Jones coming off a red-hot week. He had like 4 touchdowns, 42 points, tore it up. $7,800 on DraftKings. But again, very favorable matchup versus San Fran. Austin Eckler was banged up last year, was on concussion protocol for a bit part of the game, came back in, had a good 23-pointer game, $7,200, favorable matchup as well. Josh Jacobs, I think he should be back. If he is, favorable matchup. Be careful. I don't like starting people coming out back off injuries because they may be limited. Just be cautious there. Who else? Melvin Gordon, favorable matchup coming off a mediocre week. The only reason Melvin Gordon did a good week 1 is he had that breakout run. I don't see that happening consistently. Be careful with him. I would go Cordell Patterson here. A good matchup coming off a hot week. Everyone was so high on Mike Davis. I didn't trust him. But Cordell Patterson could continue to be fed there with Atlanta. Clyde Edwards-Helaire does have a favorable matchup this week against the Chargers rush defense, but again, been absolutely terrible and looking to be one of the biggest busts at the running back position, okay? Any other favorables I'm looking here? I'm just trying to see if there's anyone else worth mentioning. I mean, those are your favorables. Again, I'm going to be doing a start and sit show Friday. I'm going to go over the guys that have the tough matchups as well. But again, with running back, try to get the best possible running back that's going to be consistent without overpaying. Now, people are going to be asking, well, Joe, what about Nick Chubb? Nick Chubb's got it in tough this week, okay? What about J.D. McKissic coming off a hot week? He's good. He's $5,200, but he's got it in tough, okay? Who else is here that are popular names? Devin Singletary coming off a decent week. Tough matchup this week against Washington's rush defense. David Montgomery coming off 11-point mediocre game. Got in tough against Cleveland, okay? So just some things to watch, guys. I know there's some popular names here. James White having a good week last week. Against the Saints rush defense, got it in a little bit tougher. Okay, so some of these guys, maybe I didn't mention Derrick Henry, mid-range matchup. He's $8,600, doesn't have a favorable matchup, but coming off a 51-point week last week, you still want to consider Derrick Henry, but you're going to pay the price with a mid-range matchup. Tony Pollard, decent value, $5,700, again, mid-range matchup. It's a disaster between him and Zeke Elliott if you're a Zeke Elliott owner. Pollard becoming a major factor of that offense based on last week. Hopefully week 3 we start seeing more Zeke and a little bit less Pollard, all right? So there you have it. Go back and listen again if you need to. But those are your optimal plays. I gave you some value plays as well. When you are doing your DFS roster, some daily fantasy advice for you. Secure your quarterback. Secure like a tight end. Try to get as safe as running back as you can. But sometimes you're seeing these RB2s like Pollard come out and have these big parties and get a lot of fantasy points. So, and then take some wild risks at the wide receiver position. For example, risk DK Metcalf, cheaper than Lockett, could have a breakout week. And, you got to feel the rhythm and flow because sometimes a player has a big week and then the next week they're down and the other wide receiver's up. You just got to get the rhythm and flow and take a little bit of risk. Okay, that's how you win DFS. You can't win DFS going just based on last week's top players. By doing that, you're paying really high in salary because they were hot last week. Not only that, they had a hot week, so regression is naturally possible as well. All right, guys, make sure you guys do subscribe. There's some fantasy football DFS advice for you. Subscribe, thumbs up, and again, doing a starts and sits show on Friday. Make sure, and we do a full preview show again tomorrow on Thursday. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Go to Pristine Auction right now. Use promo code SWAGLINE and DM me the word WIN on my Insta. I'm out, guys. We'll talk soon. I'm out.